How do you teach yourself how to eat? Well, that's interesting because how you eat is going to be different than how I eat. So it's not how do I teach myself the way to eat, right? It's like how do I teach myself the way that feels the best for me to eat? And so for everyone that's different. But how do you teach yourself? Well, the way that I think about how we want to feed ourselves is we have to take care of the well-being of a child. Like that's kind of how I think about it. We're responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our health and our future and our life and all those things. So how to eat really is a combination of food for the body. What do you want to be healthy? Where's your energy coming from? Nutrients, nourishment. And then food for your soul. Everything else. And this is why healthy, what is healthy? Well, there's healthy because there's vitamins and minerals, and then there's healthy because you got what you wanted. And those are going to be different foods. So how to eat, to me, is about how do you have a conversation with yourself? How do you have a conversation with yourself about what feels the best for you? The division of responsibility is basically, it's a way of feeding a family to prevent and treat disordered eating in kids. And so the long story short is the parents have a job, the parents buy the food, they are the ones in charge of deciding what comes into the house. The child is not in charge of that. They serve the food, they're in charge of deciding when meal times are. The kid doesn't get to just decide, I want food now, because food is about power, again. And the parents have to eat the food. The kid's job is to listen to their body, eat when they're hungry, and stop when they're full. That's it. They get to decide if they eat and how much they eat. So the reason that I'm saying all of this is because we have an inner child. And my view on food and eating is that we can use our relationship with food and eating, these questions, how am I supposed to eat, as an opportunity to reparent. Reparenting, being the parents we never had, not just psychologically, but also at the dinner table. What kind of foods did you bring home? So one of the things that I think about, like I made this example once of, say you have two boys, they're 8-year-old boys that live across the street from each other. One of them is Mike and one of them is Chris, okay? So Mike has really strict parents who always make him eat food that is healthy. He always eats vegetables. They always have out some balanced meal. Chris, who lives across the street, gets to eat whatever he wants. And they're both young. And so we have this perception, we all want to be in Chris's house where we're allowed to have like Fruity Pebbles for dinner. That's awesome, right? Like we all want that. It makes us super happy. Well, what happens to Mike and what happens to Chris over time? Well, they live in very different places where one of them is not necessarily getting what they want all the time, but they're getting a healthy meal because their parents are showing up to put healthy food on the table. The other kid across the street, maybe he makes his own decisions and he has a lot of fun, but day after day after day after day, Chris ends up looking across the street, Mike ends up looking across the street, and what they really want are parents to just show up and put food on the table that's going to be good for them. What a little kid thinks they want is to make all the decisions and eat all the fun food and have all the sugar. But day after day after day, what that kid ends up wanting is parents that show up. Because you might be able to have Fruity Pebbles for dinner every night, and that might make you happy, but it's not going to make you feel safe. And what the brain is going for is safety. So the reason I'm saying all of this, how do I eat? Well, there's a lot to consider. But it's not just what's going to make you happy, it's what's going to make you feel safe, nourished, taken care of. And that's not about food. That's about an inner dialogue. That's a relationship you have with yourself.